Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Snakes on the Plains. Today our episode is going to be about setting up tubs for your new ball pythons. Now if you've done this before, go ahead and give this a quick listen. There may be some things you've never done before, never found out before, and I'm going to stress to you guys that it is so important to have the right size of tub. Ball pythons are shy creatures. They don't like huge open spaces, and that can actually cause a lot of problems if you have too big of a tub, if you have too small of a tub, especially going off feed, which nobody wants. It's stressful, it's a nightmare. So in the description I have a list of what quart sizes a ball python should have based on its gram size and what gallon sizes it should have also. So kind of made it easy, hopefully. Again, I recommend tubs. Personally, I've never used a tank. I don't really see any benefits of it unless you are using it because your house is too cold, in which case then a tank might be better. But I'll go over that in another video. I'll probably do a tank video just for you guys. And I know I just said something about grams. If you guys don't have a scale and you only have 1 or 2 ball pythons, I do think that's okay. Otherwise, I think if you have more than that, you definitely should invest in a scale. Scales are relatively cheap, and they will make your life a lot easier if you have questions and you're trying to ask someone on Facebook, trying to ask me, or just anyone, I guess. One of the first questions that we always ask is, well, how big is your snake? And we don't mean length, and we don't mean, oh, it's about half my shoe size. So how am I supposed to know that? So, you know, grams is something that really can just translate well no matter where you are. But anyways, without further ado, let's look at what you guys should have to set up your enclosure. So first off, I always get plastic plants for clutter. I just like how they look better, and just make sure that you get kinds that don't have any scent, that aren't like glittery or anything like that, that you can actually harm your ball python, because they are very sensitive to certain scents. Bedding I use is aspen bedding. I get this just from my local pet store. I use aspen bedding because my humidity is too high. Now, if your humidity is too low, I would use either like cypress mulch or Reptichip, not Reptibark, but either cypress mulch or Reptichip is what I use. If your humidity is too high, like mine is as well, you could use like paper towels or coconut husk. You're gonna want some duct tape for the outside of your tank or tub only. Otherwise, your snake can get caught in it, and it's a lot harder to peel them off the duct tape than you think, and a lot of times you can just tear their skin right off. So outside of the tank only. You're going to want 2 hides, one for the hot side and one for the cold side, so that your snake doesn't have to choose between feeling secure or feeling comfortable in controlling its temperature. In a few days, I will be getting a rack, and that's where these new snakes are going to be going. I have 2 coming, and so I only bought 1 very cheap rack, hide, because I have 2 coming in the mail right now for these guys, and that is going to be good for the rack, and I will do a whole video on how I set that up as well, so keep an eye out for that. This is one of the most important things for your snake, thermostat. This one is Jumpstart thermostat. This is just off of Amazon. We have 7 of these, I think, and I've never had an issue with one of them. Basically what this does is it controls power to the heat source, whether that be heat tape or a heat pad, and it will turn it off once it senses with this little probe that's in here that the temperature has reached whatever you set it at. So like I set mine around 90, depending on what the surface temperature is, but again, we will get to that in a little bit. And I use this heat pad. It's off of Amazon, just like the thermostat. However, if I were to do this again, to start again, knowing everything that I know now, I probably would just use a heat tape or something off of Reptile Basics. This is really good, it's really nice. The only problem is, and I've heard other people have this problem with this project as well, is that the adhesive doesn't stick well, so that's why I do duct tape to make this heat pad lay flat and flush against the bottom of my tub. Now this next item isn't required, but again, I would recommend getting a temperature gun. Really all it is it's a laser, as you can see right there, and then it just read the temperature of the wall, and it is, all right, and as you can see there, it says that it is 73 degrees Fahrenheit. I would use this to just point at like the bottom of my tank, right above where the heat pad will be placed. And when you do that, you just take the temperature, and if it says, you know, 88 degrees, 86 degrees, you know, obviously that's not good enough, in my opinion, for a doable hotspot. So I would turn up my my thermostats maybe 91 or 92, so it gets that plastic heated on the surface where your snake will be laying to 90 degrees. Now, like I said, I was having a humidity issue with my humidity being too high sometimes, so I have a smaller size water bowl. It is heavier, it's not extraordinarily heavy, it's plastic. I do have bigger ceramic ones in some of my other tubs, excuse me. But this will just, having a smaller one, I mean, will just make it easier to control humidity. You know, it's just as simple as having less water in there means that there's less humidity. So, but it is always important to have clean and fresh water available for these guys. If you don't, a lot of times they're actually, well, they're not gonna drink the water if it's nasty. They don't want to, and that can cause all sorts of issues with dehydration. All right, and the last thing you guys need is a tub. Now, this is a Sterilite tub just from Target. This is what I'm getting this time, since it fits in my racks nicely for my adults. It comes with clips. Now, clips are super important, and I would not suggest getting a tub, tank, anything that does not have lids and does not have clips. Sure, racks don't have to have lids, since they're pretty close to just, you know, you just slide them in, slide them out over the wood. But I have heard several people, big name breeders even, say that they wish that they had lids on their racks. So that's what we're doing. It's just a little bit of modification, and there's so many awesome people out there who do that. I think we've all heard the expression less is more, and that is completely true when drilling holes. I would start off with just a few. So you can see I just have like one every inch and a half, and then like 6 on this side. And that's simply because if you have too many, your tank is going to be either too cold, it could have not enough humidity in it, and plugging holes is just a pain. So why do it anyways, right? So just have your tank set up a few days in advance before your ball python gets there, which is exactly what I'm doing, and then drill holes in it. I do not drill holes in my lids anymore anyways. It's just not as good for humidity, and it's not as good for heat. It just lets a lot escape, so doing it on the sides is going to make it easier for you guys in the long run. Like I said, I got this this tub right here. It's a 32 quart for my rack. Now there are 2 adult ball pythons that are coming, otherwise I would have gotten smaller tubs, because again, if it's too big, your snake's not going to feel comfortable, and it's not going to eat, which is going to just be crazy stressful. But another thing I would caution you guys from getting would be one like this, actually, that you can just easily pull up and have a little bit of like wiggle room that you can like stick your fingers through, because if you can do that, your snake can do that. They're more powerful creatures than what you think. That's a good like show a little bit, but they can, you know, squeeze out of small spaces and everything, and you really don't want your new baby loose in your house. So get one that does not have as much wiggle room as these guys do. Again, the only reason I got these is because these are the exact same ones that my guy who's making my rack uses. So there will be eventually a layer of wood like sitting right on top of this when this is sat in the rack. So I don't need to worry about that. I'm just gonna put like a heavy book on each side until then, and it should be good because it will only be a few days. So temporary, make sure that your permanent one is better thought out than this is. All right, and I think that's it. We're gonna start putting it all together, and yeah, let's do this thing. Okay, so what you want to do next is find a room that doesn't have any of your other animals in it. Mostly what we're concerned about are reptiles and amphibians. And keep your new snake or snakes in there for 40 days. This is called quarantine, and it ensures that your animals are not sick and that they do not transfer mites, ticks, or any illnesses over to your other animals that you have in your collection that are healthy already. I know it's kind of weird that I'm telling you guys to quarantine my animals. They will be healthy. I'm not going to sell you guys any sick animals, but it's a good idea to do and a good practice to get into unless you personally know the person that you're buying the snakes from or trust them. There's very few people out there that I would even do that for, so I hope you guys can kind of excuse this mess. My roommate just moved out, and so it's kind of just empty-ish right now. I'm using her room as a quarantine zone for these new guys coming in. So next what you want to do, turn your tub upside down, get out your heat pad. It has a sticky adhesive right underneath of here that I will be removing, and I'm just going to kind of show you guys what I do. I will put this heat pad just in the corner right here and tape that down. Before I do that, I want to get right here the thermostat out. And the thermostat has this little probe right here. It's not really focusing, but I think you guys can see it okay. And so this probe will actually get taped down underneath the heat pad, kind of in the middle if you can get it there, and just put a little piece of tape down on the thermostat right here, or on the probe right here, but you don't want it on the metal part. So you just tape that down. Then you just place the heat pad on top of that, and I like to tape it down on some edges but not all of them, especially not on top of where the cord is coming in at. And you also don't want the well, you want to think about how you're going to plug this in, because you don't want the cord being like pulled up, and so it has like a kink in it. So make sure that you think about where this is going to be plugged in at and how your cage is going to be set up before you tape this down. Now, some people like to use foil tape. I use duct tape that doesn't leave any residue. And foil tape basically is like better insulator and everything. However, I have heard rumors, and I have not researched this because I do not use it, but I've heard rumors that if you use foil tape and you tape all the edges down, that you can transfer voltages from the outlet and from your heat source to your snakes. So if you are going to do that, please research that. Again, I do not know the answer to that. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to make sure that it's nice and flat and tape it down for you guys, so I'll be right back. Alright, so when you get done with that, it should look a little something like this. It could be, nicer. Obviously just did this really quick since, again, this is just going to be a temporary thing for my snakes, but I have the probe underneath, and it's actually sitting right about here, so not exactly in the middle, but far enough in on the heat pad that I know that it's probably going to have a general readout, just like kind of like in this middle section, so that's totally fine. And then I've pulled the tape nice and tight to make sure that this heat pad stays like flush and stays flat and pressed against the plastic, because they do tend to sag down when you have them off the ground, which is exactly what we have these guys for. So these guys, they come with the heat pad. Basically what they're going to do is keep your heat pad lifted off the ground and have just a little bit of space so that it doesn't start a fire or get too hot. As you can see, I'm using carpet underneath of this as my floor, and these guys have like a sticky back. They do pop off regularly, so if you do not have these, or if you do lose these, then what you can do is like just use a piece of cardboard and just put it on the corners here, and that should be good enough, just so that there's a little bit of space. between the floor and this heat pad. Alright, now you guys can see where I have that probe at, how I have the tape nut on the silver part of the probe that actually is telling the temperature. Again, if you can get it even more in the middle, that's totally even better. But now I'm going to start filling this up with aspen bedding. We don't need a lot. We don't need to have like clumps of it and stuff. And I'll bring you back to that once I have that done. Alright, so now I have the aspen bedding in there. You guys can see that there's not a whole lot. I can put it down here on the side so you can see, if it focuses, just how much is in there along the bottom. Now, I do leave an empty space just right here. This is just for the water bowl. It's my preference since there's these grooves down here. I've had too many times where a snake has either, you know, dipped part of its body in the water bowl and it's overflowed or just gone in it or whatever, and somehow water just gets right along here and just completely soaks the enclosure. It spreads pretty quickly, so if you do just allow yourself a little bit of room right here, it at least in my experience, that happens a lot less. You waste a lot less bedding. So personal preference of mine. So the next step is going to be to move the enclosure now where you want it to go, and we're going to start putting in the hide and the water bowl and also getting that heat pad warming up so we can see what about about what the temperature will be right about here. So again, remember when you're putting it down which way you want the front and the back to go. Since my heat tape is coming out this side, or not my heat tape, my heat probe is coming out this side, then I'm going to have this side facing the wall. So I'm going to move that right now and I'll be right back. Alright, so this is where I decided to put it. Again, please excuse the mess. This room is not being used. It just has some leftover stuff from a roommate. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is get your thermostat going. Now how you're going to do that is first take the plug-in that goes into your heat mat or heat tape and plug that bad boy in. And so what that does is this actually will turn off the power to your heat pad if it senses it. The temperature is getting too hot, turns it on if it senses that the temperature is getting too cold. So I want to untangle all of this and then plug that bad boy in and boom. Now it says, or as it's thinking, it says that it's heating and it says that there's power. So that's exactly what we want. Well, that's cool. It does not show this in real life, or I guess I should say with the human eye. It's not blinking and stuff. So that's really interesting. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to hold down set, and now I'm not sure if it changed or not, but it is flashing for me now. It just looks different on the camera, but so you hold set, you wait for it to flash for a while, and it's set at 80 right now. I'm going to turn mine all the way up to 92 degrees, that's just because that's what I have on my other ones. However, before I put my snakes in, I am going to use my heat gun to make sure that the temperature isn't above 90. If you don't have a heat gun, just set this to 90, okay? And don't think, oh, well, I can just put the probe in the enclosure. No, do not do that. Do not put the probe in the enclosure with the snake, because if the snake moves the probe off the heat pad, these heat pads can easily get up to 115 degrees, and it's going to burn your snake, and it's going to be really bad for you and your snake. So 90 degrees when in doubt, just set it to. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the hides. Alright, so now I have the hide in the water bowl, and I do recommend just washing everything, because you don't know where it's been, and you don't know what it's been in contact with and whatnot. So that is just what I would say to you guys. So there we go. I'm gonna just move that out of there and this out of there. Still put some bedding there, just so it doesn't get completely soaked through if some water gets down there. So that's where I'll have that. And again, this is just a temporary hide. As you can see, it'd probably be one that we'd put in with a snake if we were cleaning or something. But you just want to make sure that your hide is over whatever you're having. Like, normally you'd have two, so you'd have a warm hide and then you'd also have a cold hide, and they'd be smaller. These are adult snakes, and so we are only going to have one until we get that rack going. So I just was double checking where my heat pad was. It's like right in this area. So I'm going to scooch this as far as I can over onto this side, doing it one-handed. like a pro. There we go. Alright, and so as you can see, snake can come in and out right there of the hide. It's probably just going to stay in there, honestly, unfortunately, just because that, again, this is only a temporary set. Alright, so I did check this at the store before I left. As you can see, that the lid sits basically right on top of the hide. And so what that is going to not allow the snake to do is slither over the top of it, which means that the snake is either going to have to slither over the water bowl to get over onto this side if it wants to and explore over here, or just stay in this area. So this is not a perfect setup if you were going to be keeping a ball python in this permanently. I will show you what one looks like here in a bit. I believe this enclosure is like $5 if you get a smaller one and you have a smaller snake. It's going to be even less. And then this hide was like $1.50 at Target as well. This was about $1.70. And then these guys are, and this is in 2017, so the prices may have changed since then, but this Jumpstart, oh gosh, what is it? I believe it's like $16, and the heat mat is $13. Relatively cheap, I guess I should say, to obtain, and also easy to obtain. But if you don't have the proper setup, your snake is going to be a lot more expensive to take care of because it's not going to eat and it could get sick. So just do yourself a favor, get the right equipment right away. I get my other hides from Petco, actually no, PetSmart, and they work great. So if you want to do that, they're a little bit more fun than just a white box. But you'll see that in just a moment. Right now I'm going to start putting in the clutter, which I believe I got that from Hobby Lobby, and it was like $1 a branch. So again, pretty easy. And if you do not want to use plastic, you can use paper products like paper towels and crumpled up newspaper, but you're going to have to change those out a lot more than if you have paper or plastic plants. I just wash the cage once a month then, unless it really needs it, and the snakes are completely fine. So I'll get that going. Alright, so we have 5 different branches right here from Hobby Lobby. I've taken off all the tags of them and made sure that they don't have any sort of scent or residue on them that could be dangerous to the snakes. Normally what I do when I wash these guys is I let them soak in hot water just for like 5 minutes and some Dawn soap that's non-scented, and wash them off really good. Let them soak for a little bit again just to make sure all that Dawn is gone. You can scrub the leaf like this, and if there's suds on it, obviously the Dawn is not gone yet, and if there's no suds, then they should be okay just to sit out and dry in the sun for a while. I cannot tell you how incredible the sun is at killing bacteria. So if you're having bacteria or mold problem, you can just set yourself out in the sun for a while. Make sure that it dries and it's actually like dry to the touch, not damp, because bacteria can still live on damp, but it cannot live on dry. So that's what I would do. So I'm going to put some of these bad boys in here. I would normally cut them, however, this I'm going to try not to for this if I need to, which it looks like I will because these do not fit. So I'm going to go and give these guys a little cut. Alright, so I've placed the clutter inside the cage. I ended up not cutting it. So what I did instead is that these guys have some wires in them, so I just bent them the way that they needed to go. So that worked out really well. Now when you put the lid on, of course, these will get squished down, which will also provide a little bit more cover for your snake. You do need to keep in mind, like, this is a bigger male, or a bigger enclosure for a male. So when he is going to be traversing around, you want to make sure that you leave room for him to drink. So like there's plenty of room for him to stick his head in right here and drink, and there's plenty of room for him, if I can just get the camera over here, to slither in right here. And there's no like branches or anything that are just completely, as I hit the camera, sorry guys, but no branches that are completely just like blocking him from getting in and out of his enclosure. So you just want to do that. And also I always block out the sides, that way that if there is a snake here, you can see just how hard it is to see my hand. The snake will feel a little bit more confident moving around in its enclosure, exploring and stuff when you get it. Something to note about when you first get your snake as well is that do not just expect to be handling it, playing with it, and everything the first few days that you get it. I always give my new snakes 4 to 5 days to completely settle down. You know, you can, the day that you get them, you can take a couple pictures with them, do an unboxing video, whatever, but seriously, just let them relax for a while. If you don't, they're prone to be a little bit more nippy, but ball pythons are known for not being nippy. But you do want to give them a little bit of time just to relax, to completely just kind of get used to an environment that they're not used to. And if this is your first snake and you can have this enclosure anywhere, I do recommend putting it in a place that there's not a lot of foot traffic, that a lot of people aren't just walking through all the time. That will make your snake feel a lot more comfortable as well, because they can feel vibrations in the floor. So what we're going to do next is, this says that the heat pad has been heated up to 93 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to take my handy dandy heat gun here, and we're going to try to get a good accurate read on this with my dominant hand if I can. So I'm totally going to just destroy everything I just did putting all this together, but you know. Alright, so I'm just going to be showing you guys the method because this obviously isn't ready yet. I probably only had the heat pad on there for about 15 minutes. You probably want it to be on there for like a day or so, and then just check it every 5 hours once you've adjusted the thermostat if it's not up to what it's supposed to be. So now the thermostat's at 90. Sorry, I promise it's at 90. It just was really blurry. And so if I do point the laser at where the hot spot is, right now it says 77 degrees. If I go over here, it might say something different. 76 degrees. As you can see, it's just kind of all over the place right now because it hasn't exactly heated up yet. So again, just let it heat up. This is just to show you guys how it's done. You want it to say 90, or at least be close to 90 for the hot spot. Alright guys, so as you can see, we have some of my thermostats hung up here in our actual rack room right now. This is what we're using as a temporary rack and temporary tubs for our snakes. Now, I just wanted to show you, like I promised, what an actual good setup looks like. So there's a larger hide for the hot side and a smaller hide for the cold side for one of our subadults. This is Monty's cage, if you guys are interested. Water bowl and hygrometer and thermometer, which is really high right now, but our AC wasn't working the other day, so it should go back to normal soon. So yeah, this is what it looks like. You guys can see how much clutter there is. Clutter is extremely important. When we first got Monty, he actually wouldn't eat for us. Firstly, because his cage was too big, and secondly, because we ended up feeding him mice when he was eating rats. So again, that cage size matters. We learned that the hard way, and I guess clear communication with the breeder that you got him from is extremely important as well. So this is what a complete and permanent setup should look like for your ball pythons, with, of course, clips. Alright, and everything's kind of gone all crazy with this one, but as you can see, this tells humidity and this tells temperature. It also is really cool. It tells you what your highest temperature or humidity and lowest humidity of the day was, and your highest temperature and your lowest temperature of the day was. So what you're going to do is you're going to place this inside your tub as well. And I just get these from Walmart. They're super awesome. I think they're like $6, maybe they're $9. They're amazing, guys. They do really accurate, and they're digital, so yay, you don't need to mess around trying to read a little dial. So just, there's some brand name of them if you guys are interested. So you just place that in there, and then you kind of watch over the course of however long it takes for your snake to get there, if your humidity is too high, if your temperature is too low, and adjust accordingly. I'll be doing videos over each one of those things. Otherwise, if you have any other questions that I didn't answer, you guys can totally go to my website, which is linked below, and there's a file on there, and it's actually a link to a Google Doc that I have all this information in. And if you still don't see what you're looking for there, please feel free to comment on this YouTube video. Feel free to message me on Facebook, comment on my Instagram. just get a hold of me, and I will try to either point you in the right direction or give you information. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you found it informational, and I hope it didn't drag on too terribly much. I can't wait to show you guys some exciting things that are coming up. I've talked to you about the rack, and I've talked to you about 2 new breeders that are going to be coming this week, actually just in a couple days here, so that's super exciting. And there's also something extraordinarily exciting that is coming from a faraway distant land, and it'll be here in about 2 weeks, but I'm not going to spoil that surprise, heck no. So you guys will see that hopefully in the near future. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Make sure to hit that like button if you found this informational, and I'll catch you with the unboxing video. Toodles!